Welcome to APCUG's Wednesday workshop, where we get together in the middle of the week to learn more about technology. This is October. October is Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and we try to focus as much as we can on different topics related to our security and our safety. We're very, very excited to have with us, being 2 months in a row. Last month we had somebody from the Cybersecurity Alliance. Today we have a noted speaker with us. Gema de la Heras is a bilingual consumer education specialist in the Federal Trade Commission's Division of Consumer and Business Education. She works on an outreach projects to inform and educate consumers about bad business practices and how to spot and avoid fraud. She also authors consumer alerts on the latest scams and has over 15 years of experience working in roles that focus on consumer education. Prior to joining the FTC, she worked as a television producer with Univision's 41 News and later as a public information officer with the New Jersey Division of Consumer Affairs. We're very happy to have her with us today, and her title of her presentation is kind of Working Together to Fight Fraud. So at this time, I'll turn things over to Gema and thank her for taking time out of her busy schedule to be with us.
Thank you, and hello everyone. Just bear with me for 1 second while I quickly start sharing my screen. Let's see if this works. It looks like it's not. Let me try that again. There we go. All right. Something's happening here. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see it, but it's not slideshow mode.
All right, let's see if usually I get a little square. There you go.
Got it.
Okay. Apologies. Usually I get a little green square around it, but somehow that's not happening, but I guess you can still see it. So that's good news. Hello. And as
your volume dropped a good bit.
Okay. Is that better?
Not quite.
Not quite. Okay.
That was good.
Well,
there, that's better. I'm
going to have my headset nearby, and if it gets bad, you let me know, and I will put those on. As John said, my name is Gema de las Heras, and I work at the Federal Trade Commission, and I am really delighted to be here today with all of you. And I wanted to tell you a little bit about the FTC. We are the nation's consumer protection agency, and the FTC works to stop fraud, deception, and unfair business practices. And we do that in a few different ways. Through enforcement, the FTC does investigations and sues companies and people that break the law. And anytime there's an opportunity, we try to get money back to people whenever that's possible. We also do this through education and outreach, and that's what I normally do and what I'm doing today. So the FTC tells people about their rights and businesses about their responsibilities. But of course, the FTC can't do all of this alone. We often work to amplify our message with trusted organizations, to get the message out, and we build partnerships with trusted sources such as yourselves, so that we can get the message out in your communities. And after the presentation today, we hope that we can continue working with you to this end. Now, I'm going to start by quickly going over the most reported scams to the FTC in 2023. And then I'll go into detail about impersonator scams and investment scams. Then I'll share details on what to do if this happens to you or someone you know, including where to report scams and identity theft. And then I'm going to wrap up by sharing some ideas on how we can work together. And of course, we'll have time at the end to go over any questions. So let's get started. And here's what we know about scams based on the FTC data. Each year, impersonation scams stand out by far as the most frequently reported type of fraud out there. This is, of course, when someone pretends to be somebody that they're not. They could be, impersonating a family member or a loved interest or the government, a business, or another well-known organization that you know. And their goal is always to trick you into sending them money or your personal information. And in just the first half of this year of 2024, we have received 360,000 reports about impersonation scams. And the losses in this to these scams are over $1.3 billion in reported losses just for the half of this year alone. So we're going to talk more about these scams in just a minute, but just so that we go over like the other top reported scams that we had last year, online shopping scams were number 2. And those often involve people not getting what they order online or being billed for something that they didn't order. Fake price, sweepstakes, and lottery scams, those were number 3, and they were followed by investment scams. And business and job opportunities round up the top 5 list with an increased total reports and losses to job scams and employment agencies in this 5th category. So last year, people of all ages spotted fraud and reported it to us. But this slide shows you that last year, actually, more than 40% of people in their 20s who reported seeing fraud also lost money. And you can compare that to only 25% of people in their 70s reporting. So a lot of people assume that scams and fraud is mostly happening to older adults, but our data tells us different. We're actually getting more reports for younger people. The one thing that we see is that when older people do report to us and do report losing money, the amount that they lose is much larger than younger people. So there are less reports, but when they lose money, they lose more money. And the data, of course, only tells us one part of the story. The stories that we hear from the community and our own investigations and experience tell us the other part. So let's talk about some of the specific scams, because knowing how the scams work and what the scammers are going to tell you is really going to help you and help others spot and avoid the scams. So we've been talking about this. Scammers impersonate many different agencies. They can fool your caller ID and make any phone number, as you might know, show up on your phone. So you really can't trust your caller ID. In a recent twist, this is something that we're seeing. Someone might send you a text message from, say, Amazon, and they'll be asking if you have authorized a payment of $1,500 for a laptop computer. Of course, when you get this message, you call the number on the message and you call to say, hey, I did not make this purchase, right? I didn't authorize this. And the person on the other line might tell you that, well, your identity has been used to commit a serious crime. They'll often tell you that it's associated with money laundering or drug smuggling. And this, of course, is just to scare you. But then they're going to tell you that they can help you, and they're going to ask you to hold, transfer you to the Social Security Administration to help you with this problem. And they might connect you with a number of different government agencies and give you names and badge numbers. And if you check them online, they might actually match. You might actually see a name that matches someone who works at that agency, but that's not to say that that's the person that you're talking to on the other line. So really what you have to keep in mind in this type of scams is that they're telling you that they're going to help you with, with this case. And then they're going to tell you, and this is the key thing, they're going to tell you that in order to protect your money, right, you're going to have to withdraw all your money and deposit it into a special government ATM. But that is really a Bitcoin ATM. And it's really just a scam. So anyone who tells you to withdraw cash, wire money, buy gold and give it to a courier, or get cash and give it to a courier to supposedly protect your money, that person's a scammer. So please don't do that. Now, here's another example. On the slide here, you can see one type of phishing email. This one in particular is from pretending to be Geek Squad, the tech support company. And we also see scammers sending emails and text messages pretending to be Amazon or FedEx or other different banks. These emails are looking very real. Of course, they aren't, but scammers are getting very sophisticated and they make them look real. But they're designed, of course, to trick you into thinking that they're from the actual company. And they ask you for payment, or they tell you to maybe click on a link and give information or confirm information to solve some type of problem. But if you get an unexpected email from a business or a person, don't click on any links. Don't call any phone numbers that they give you. If you're getting a message that you were not expecting and you think this might be real, contact the company using a phone number or a website that you know is real. Never the number that you get on the message or on the email, because that would lead you back to the scammer. Now, let's move on to investment scams, which sometimes involve cryptocurrency. So something to keep in mind is that scammers are now, sort of mixing different types of scams into one scam. So it might start at something and then turn into something else. And this type of scams often start with a direct message or contact through social media platform or a dating app. Some scammers, meet you online, and then they start giving you all this attention and they want to talk to you every day. It might start as a friendship, not, perhaps a romantic relationship, but it might start as a friendship. But this very soon, everything starts to turn or focus on money. And they might offer you to help you invest your money or teach you how you can make millions of dollars investing. But the truth is that anyone who promises you that you're going to grow your money in a very short time with zero risk, that person is a scammer. Don't mix online relationships and investment advice. If you meet someone on a dating app or a dating website and they want to show you how to invest in crypto, or they ask you to send them crypto, that's a scam. And if you want to read more about this type of scams, you can go to ftc.gov/investment scams. And sometimes, no matter how careful we are, we wind up paying a scammer. If that happens, the most important thing to do is to act quickly. Start by contacting the company that you used to send the money and tell them that it was fraud and that you want their help to try to get your money back. If you act as soon as you realize that you've paid a scammer, and depending on how you paid, you might be able to recover at least some of your money. So it's definitely worth giving it a try. Well, and finally, where do you report fraud, right? This piece is really important in the fight against scams, because scammers, let's face it, they don't just scam one person. So if you see or experience a fraud or a scam or any sort of bad business practice, help your community, help the people around you, your friends, family, and report it to the FTC, report it to us, because every time that you file a report, you really give us a piece of the puzzle that helps us build cases and also warn other people about the current trends and things that are happening. And in just a few steps, you can report fraud in English at reportfraud.ftc.gov. And in Spanish, you can do that at reportefraude.ftc.gov. And now we're also taking reports in any languages. So if your preference or someone, if their preference is to report in other language other than English or Spanish, the number to call is 877-382-4357. And by choosing option 3, they'll be connected with an interpreter who will help them file the complaint, the report. Not everyone feels comfortable. We understand that providing information to a government database, but people can submit a report anonymously, or they can work with an advocate or someone who can help them file the report on their behalf. So that's a good option for those people who don't want to file the report themselves. Now, scammers want our money, and they also want our personal information. And they want that to commit identity theft. So when identity theft happens, someone that you know, or perhaps someone in one of the imposter schemes that we talked about, that I just talked about, uses your personal or financial information without your permission. They might steal things like your name and your address, or credit card numbers, or bank account numbers, your social security number, and even medical insurance account numbers. And they could use that information to run up charges on your account. They can get new credit or a loan, even a mortgage in your name. So what can you do about it? Well, I encourage you to take steps that help recognize signs of misuse. You can read your account statements, bills, and explanation of benefits regularly. That will help you spot any discrepancies. Look for charges, withdrawals, or purchases that you don't recognize, and contact the businesses or the providers about those charges, and figure out if it's really something that perhaps you forgot about, or if it's really someone else using your credit. It's a good idea to also check your credit report and look for changes like a new loan or a credit card that you don't recognize, changes to your address or other personal information showing up that you don't recognize. Maybe there's a public record of bankruptcy and you haven't really filed for bankruptcy. So those are the things that you have to look for in your credit report. And to get a free copy of your report, the website where you can go and do that for free is annualcreditreport.com. Now you can get a free copy of your report every week from each of the 3 credit bureaus. That's Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. And you can do that on the website at annualcreditreport.com. Of course, you don't need to get a report every week, but once in a while, you want to be at least every few months, you should be taking a look at those and making sure everything looks good. If you find out that someone is using your information, act quickly. If you know where they use the information, contact the company directly and let them know. Then contact one of the 3 credit bureaus and place a 1-year fraud alert on your credit reports. You can find out the information on how to contact the credit bureaus at identitytheft.gov. There you can also file an identity theft report, and you are going to get a personalized step-by-step recovery plan when you do that. This site is going to give you the steps to take, the contact information, and for the businesses and the credit reporting agency. And you can file a report in English at identitytheft.gov or in Spanish at robodeidentidad.gov. And as with the fraud reports, You can also report identity theft now to us in any language by calling 877-438-4338 and selecting option 3 to be connected with an interpreter who is going to help you make the report. This is, again, for folks who would like to report in other languages. And well, now we consider you part of our fraud fighting network, and we hope that you're going to share some of what you've learned today. And to help you do that, we do have a number of free materials available. First, I like to start with our Pass It On consumer education materials. Pass It On, or Pásalo if in Spanish, reinforces what you know about spotting and avoiding fraud, and it gives you also some background about or some detail about the different scams. And this helps you and those people that you talk to be more confident about starting a conversation with someone else, about sharing what you know with your friends, your family, and your peers. The whole point of the idea is that, you share this information. This is not just for yourself. You perhaps know about some of these scams, but you want to tell somebody else, pass on this information to someone else who might be able to use it. And the campaign materials includes fact sheets, bookmarks, online articles, and also ready-to-go presentations that cover 13 different topics, ranging from tech support and health insurance scams to unwanted calls and some of the scams that we talked about earlier. So there's a whole variety of topics. And of course, all of our content is in the public domain, and that means there's no copyright or permission needed to use it. Feel free to share any of this Pass It On articles on social media. You can include them in your bulletin if you have one. Share copies with friends, with people maybe who couldn't make this webinar. I know there's going to be a recording, but you might be able to send some additional information to them. And ftc.gov/bulk order is where you can also order some of the printed materials that are available for free. They're available in English and Spanish and in other languages. And the FTC will also ship those print materials for free. It takes about 3 to 4 weeks to get them, but everything is free. So if you do presentations or you have groups that you meet with and you want to give them a handout, that's a great place to start. Now, for those looking for just the basics, written in a very plain and simple style, we have a website. It's consumer.gov, and in Spanish it's consumidor.gov. And this was created for emerging readers in English and in Spanish, but the site has also handouts, lesson plans, videos, and information for trainers or people doing presentations. And it has topics that are broken into 3 different areas. Managing your money, and that includes a worksheet on opening a bank account, understanding your paycheck. It also has the worksheet on making a budget, which is very important and a very popular publication. Then it also has a section on credit, loans, and debt. That includes payday loans, car title loans, and how you can build credit. And the last section on scams and identity theft that we talked a little bit about. So let's move on to one more other resource here. We have information online in 12 different languages in addition to English and Spanish. And the page where you can find that is ftc.gov/languages. You can see a list of the 12 languages that we have here. You can see it on the screen. And all the information, again, is free to read, download, and you can print it out yourself and share it. There are articles about how to avoid a scam, what to do if you were scammed, which tells you the steps to take if you paid a scammer, as we talked about before. Also, if you gave personal information to a scammer, or if a scammer got access to your computer, that's all information that you can find there. And there's an article too about how to spot and report identity theft in your language. So if you know or work with people who speak those languages, please tell them about this resource, the resources that are available, or send them a link, or, you know, print out some copies for them. We really appreciate that. And again, where you can find the print articles is ftc.gov/bulk order. And for those of you with grandkids or maybe young adults in your life, Heads Up, Stop, Think, and Connect is another FTC educational campaign that was created to help kids stay safe online, and we all know how important that is. These materials are simple and age appropriate, and the design includes a booklet that is available online in 12 languages and in print. It's only available in print in English and Spanish, but online in all the 12 languages. And this campaign is, of course, for kids, but it also gives adults some ideas to help them start, you know, conversations with kids about how to stay safe online. So a very important publication too. And scams are always changing. So I want to invite you to keep up with the latest scams from the FTC. So if you have your smartphone handy, please take it out and you can sign up really quickly to get our consumer alerts. You can see the URLs on the screen is ftc.gov/consumer alerts or ftc.gov/alertas de consumidor if you want to get those alerts in Spanish. And we really hope that you're going to become a fraud fighter and share what you learned, you know, not just today, but, you know, if you sign up for the alerts, any of the alerts that you get, if you can share them with your community, you can add your logo if you want, if you like to do that. Or if you have a newsletter, you can include those there or on your website. The main thing really is that we all work together to get the message out and to really stay ahead of the scammers. And the best way to do that is really talking about scams. That's the most important thing. I know that we've given you a lot of information, a lot to process, but I am happy to take any questions that you have now. I think I see a quick question here. Okay, the links are not case sensitive, so I believe whether you capitalize them or not should work. They should work. And Mark, I think, has his hand up.
What we do is that Judy has questions.
Oh, Judy, I'm sorry.
So we will switch as Judy compiles all this together on her big screen. And we get those done, then we'll go to the audience. So Mark will hang on. He knows that. But Judy usually gets them and prints them out so she can read them better. She'll be right with us. And of course, the chat box is closed because she can't be reading questions and getting questions. So we'll take the ones that Judy has, and then we'll go and open things up for live Q&A. There's Judy. Oh, thank you again, Emma. That was an excellent presentation and a lot of good slides that we'll be sending out later.
Thank you.
There you go.
Oh, there you go.
Appreciate that. All righty. Older adults might be less likely to report out of fear or shame, or they might know how to report it. How do we reach out to them and let them know these are the resources? And do we try to walk them through the process, or what?
Yeah, sure. I think that is accurate. I think sometimes, you know, shame and feeling bad about, you know, realizing what you've done plays a big part of it. And it really shouldn't, because it's not that person's fault. It's really the scammer that's doing something wrong. So I think that's something to keep in mind, and always tell people that, it's really not their fault that this happened to them. Scammers are getting really very sophisticated. It can happen to anyone. And as we see with the data, it does happen to younger folks too. And you can see that on the number of reports. So when, if you encounter people who might be reluctant to file a report, or they don't know where to go, of course, if someone can assist them with the filing of the report, it's great. But encouraging them to do that, it's also a good idea to let them know those things. This can happen to anyone. It's not just you. It happens to a lot of people. In just this half a year, like I said, $1.3 billion reported losses to this type of scam. So definitely something to encourage them with the reporting. And it's reportfraud.ftc.gov for people wanting to file a report.
Thank you. And your presentation was outstanding. I love the fact that you put in all that resource information. I was co-chair of a tech conference down in San Diego. I don't live there. In fact, none of us live there, but that's where it started. And the handout welcome bag was filled with your handouts. I was the bulk order queen in the, through the mail before it. And every time I get sometimes 2 or 3 times a day, I will get a release about a scam, and I put it up to APCUG's Facebook page immediately, and a local community organization, and I'll then take part of it and put it up on Nextdoor. And sometimes on Nextdoor, I will get over 1,000 reads.
Wow.
And one of the things is that's not what you usually see on Nextdoor. It's the cats and the dogs, but I use as much, different places that I can get that send it out to people. So folks can do that, and you'd be surprised what's out there. Is the FTC involved in the government's current case against Google for search monopolization? If so, to what extent?
Okay, well, so first I'm going to say thank you, Judy, for doing that. And that is exactly what we hope that people are doing, is sharing this information, because it's really, the folks that you're in touch with are going to take something that you send them and say, hey, I'm doing this, where sometimes they're not always going to listen to what the federal government has to say, or, they might be more reluctant to file a report with the FTC. So it's really, these connections with people that really help us get the message out and hopefully try to stop scammers. Now, as far as a Google lawsuit or any other lawsuit that the FTC might or might not be involved with, unfortunately, I can't comment, or not do I know about it, because I'm on the other side of the, office where we do consumer education. So we're really not involved with a lot of the cases and the filings until it becomes, public information. Like yourselves, I don't really know much about it.
Does the FTC want reports from outside the USA?
Yes, so if there are reports outside the USA, they can file them with econsumer.gov. That is the consumer agency, the international consumer agency that will take consumer reports from abroad, anywhere. If it's happening in the US, or if there's some sort of US connection, then yes, definitely report it to the FTC. But if you're, outside of the country, then it's econsumer.gov. And I can try to put that in the chat, or if not, if you
would you please, because I don't have that.
Okay. I'll see if I can access that, and I'll put that information in there.
Thanks. Several times a year, I receive an audio message that my computer has been infected with a virus, and rebooting my computer will not rid my computer of this audio message. He says he has to press Control-Alt-Delete and then click on Sign Off to rid his computer of this audio message. Is there any other way other than that to have them leave your computer, or how did he get that in the first place? I've had that happen to me in the dead of night and yelled bloody murder because this thing just jumped right up in my face.
Yes. So I am not a computer expert. I'll start by saying that. However, you know, there are things that you can do to try to avoid some of this issues that may happen, you know, whether it's a malware or other things that might happen. There's steps that you can take to protect your computer and your devices. I mean, one is keeping your software up to date and running checks. If I'm going to give you another website where you can see some of the steps there, because you know there might be some steps involved, and I'm not sure if it will take care of that specific problem, but there's definitely some online security advice that I can share with you to hopefully help you take care of that.
Outstanding, thank you. I've had the one time that happened at home, and I was out cruising around in my job in the legal department, and I got the pop-up that said, you know, we've locked all your files and stuff like that. And I thought, oh, wonderful. So you do Control-Alt-Delete. That's what you think of first, because that's what we've been taught. You click on the X in the upper right-hand corner because that's what we've been told to do. You want to shut something down, boom. And every time I did the X, it went through the same things. They had fixed it, so the X just over and over and over again. So what I finally got it to do was I got it to close, turned it off, you know, essentially pulled the plug, plugged it back in again, and I went, oh, too cool, it worked. And it really hadn't. If I had, when you open up your website, it usually says, would you like us to open up your tabs that you've had on before? Normally we want to do that. But in this instance, I found that the correct answer was no way do I want that to happen, because I automatically clicked on restore the first time, and there it was, no happy joy. And so the light bulb went on and said, don't do that, Judy. And then I said no the second time, and it was gone. So just think of that. If a minor child or grandchild has a Social Security card, can a parent lock their credit reports?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that question?
If a minor child or grandchild has a Social Security card, can a parent lock their credit reports?
Yes, I believe there's a specific process for that where you may have to contact the credit reporting agency because usually their credit, you know, if you try to pull a credit report and there's nothing there, because they normally will not have a credit report because they don't have any credit yet. That might be, you know, something where you have to call the reporting agencies and show some information or demonstrate that you are that parent's guardian in order to freeze their credit. Yes.
And
but
that,
it's not going to be like the regular process where you know, reach out. You're going to have to essentially show proof that you are the parent and you'd like to freeze this credit.
and you attendees are the techies. You might be the techie in your family. And that is something that you need to let everybody know, your friends, your relatives, whatever, because some of the, what they're trying to do is steal their identity. And by the time they get a job and they go into their account or whatever they try to do, and it says, I'm sorry, you've already got an account set up. You don't want that to happen. So you need to get all those little darlings locked. And it's just good practice. How do scammers get our phone numbers? A good friend got the hello grandma, I'm in trouble phone call.
Yes. So I guess they're different. I mean, there are different ways that they can get their hands on our information, and a phone number is, you know, often shared in so many different places that it's hard to determine exactly. But yes, those, hello, and, you want to meet for coffee, text messages and calls, they happen. One thing that you can do is, number one, put the phone number in the do not call list. Add your number to that list, and I'll put the information on the chat in just a second. But once you register, you're not going to be receiving telemarketing calls. That's not to say that a scammer is not going to call you, because of course scammers don't really abide by the law. So you might still get some phone calls. And there's also something that you can do to set up on your phone, on your cell phone, where you can block calls, or your computer to block emails, so that, there's some software now that it will filter most of or will block most of the calls from scammers. So, but once you've done those things, if you get a call or a text message from a number that you don't recognize, it's most likely a scammer. And what we usually tell people is, you don't recognize the number, don't answer the phone. Let them leave a message. If it's something important, they will leave you a message, and you can always, call back, or, follow up afterwards. But if you don't recognize the phone number, chances are it might be a scammer. Don't answer.
Outstanding. Thank you so much. And thank you again for the nifty presentation. I'm so excited that you shared all the resources. Nobody's ever done that before. Way cool. And we're segueing over to live Q&A. So, Mr. France, would you please unmute yourself after John does his number and ask your question?
Also, remind people, Mark, just 1 second. Remind people that if you want to have a chance, go down to your raise hand button that is in your toolbar, so that we get you in our list. Raising your hand doesn't work because we don't see everybody. So like the people that have already done that, hit your raise hand, and then we'll call you in order. So now, Mark, go ahead.
Okay, I actually have two questions, Gemma, and thank you very much for your excellent presentation. The first question is that just about all of us and all the people I know get multiple scam attempts per day. Obviously, law enforcement is overwhelmed at local, state, and federal level. What legislation or resources or integration of systems is needed to help law enforcement identify, arrest, issue warrants for, and prosecute more scammers? Second question is, we've got a lot of services, antivirus, anti-malware services that purport to provide anti-theft, identity theft, and other services, looking at the dark web and other things. I have heard reports that these are largely ineffective, and others that maybe they are effective. Do you have any information about whether these services are effective? Thank you very much.
Sure. Thank you. And thanks for those questions. So yes, I mean, number one, with the reporting and, sort of following up on cases, that's why it's so important to report to the FTC. It's the website is reportfraud.ftc.gov. And that is, it's a large database, and it's not just FTC reports. That information is shared with other law enforcement agencies around the country. So when you file a report, it's available to those participating organizations. There are also organizations that are collaborating, like the Better Business Bureau, for example, will file reports, add reports to that. So that is why, even if you don't lose money, if you see a scam or something that you suspect is a scam, it's very important to report, because There might be, you know, maybe the FTC is not looking at it, but it might be states that are looking at it. And once you put that in the database, they will have access to that report. So that really help us, like I said, sort of put the pieces together. Unfortunately, when it comes to scammers, it's like a game of whack-a-mole. You know, you go after one, there's another one popping up on the other side. So it's a constant, you know, attempts of shutting them down. And that's why we think consumer education is so important, because, you know, it's not just about filing the reports and going after, you know, after a case, which might also take a long time in terms of going through the court process. But if people know how to spot and avoid these scams, it really, you know, makes a difference, you know. And I think the other question about the scans and the viruses, yes, that's a very important question. I'm glad you brought that up, because there's a lot of scams also around this security scans. A lot of people have reported, and we recently had a case where there was a company that was, you know, making people believe they were running a Microsoft or, you know, or a reputable scan, and that it was free. And then they ended up being connected to someone else who was charging them hundreds of dollars. So that is a case that I believe is still in progress. So yes, you have to be very careful about accepting, especially things that pop up on your computer. If you're going to do some sort of search or a computer virus, follow some of the advice on the that we have on our website. I just put up the link there. It's the online privacy and security. There are some steps there. We can't give a specific company, but, you know, we give you advice on how to select a company that is reputable. So hopefully that helps.
Cool, thank you. Sherry Dunn.
Oh, I think you're muted, Sherry.
You forgot Randy.
Yes, I would like to know, I've read where there's a few people have lost their homes and it's been sold out from underneath them. How can we protect ourselves?
Yes, that's an unfortunate situation. And I think it's a, you know, it's a quite an entailed scam when that happens. You know, it might be sometimes someone who has access to that person's information. But one of the ways that you can protect yourself is by always staying on top of your credit report and your, you know, any documents that you get, any mail in terms of your accounts and things like that, because even a change of, you know, of property name that would show up like on your credit, most likely it might show up someone is using your credit. So that's something that I would definitely look into, you know, staying on top of your credit report.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
The title deed scam, according to the FBI, is growing more and more because these scammers aren't getting as much money from the other scams they're doing. And they have found this is a good way to rake in big bucks. What every single person on this Zoom meeting should do is find out where you get your property tax bills. I'm in LA County, and it's the LA County Assessor's Office. And you want to see if they will offer, they have the offer of a email that where you can sign up for email notices when you, period. If anybody touches your title deed, they get in touch. They normally will get in touch with you, of course, but our assessor says sometimes it takes up to 30 days. And by that time, your house is gone. So you need to find out how your county assessor notifies people. And I got an email in January of 23 from my tax assessor and said to myself, how in the world did he get my email? I've never used it before. And I have sent the information about registering for the e-notification with your title, something has touched it. And I was the only one that I could find in my circle of tech buddies and everybody else I knew that had gotten this email. So again, when we get things like this, we spread the word to everybody that we possibly can. I went to a Tech Ed Connect meeting in New York, and they had somebody from their justice office. And one of the local newspaper, it took them 90 minutes to become owners of the Empire State Building. And we all laughed hysterically about that, but it was true. And it's all done by email. You don't have to show your face. They can have your likeness out there in the world. They can find a criminal that is has a notary real stamp or not. You can get the forms at Office Max, Staples, any office supply place, Amazon. So this is a biggie, guys, except for, especially for us retirement folks, that we've paid it off and it is ours. Okay, so please, 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 please go to your county assessor and find out how they do it. New York and Arizona's rules about email will go in effect in January of 25. We want to rattle some cages and make sure all of the counties in the United States have a facility of getting us information via email. I'm sorry, I'm off my soapbox now. Randy, you're on.
Okay, first I want to say great presentation, and thank you for that. I would love to have a copy of the slides that you used. I don't care if they're in slide form or PDF, but I would like to be able to share the same information. And then the technical question about trying to get stuff to stop showing up on your screen, or whether it's audio or video. There's a program called Auto Runs, and that allows you to see what's going on the inside. And then the other thing is to go and look at your extensions attached to your browser, and you will get a good idea if there's an extension in there that is, let's say, an unwanted extension, and hopefully that helps. Oh, and the other thing that I'll add to that is if you're getting it on your phone, on the iPhone, to prevent unwanted callers, is used in the settings. There's a thing called Focus, and if you set it so that your phone only rings for people that are in your contacts, that if somebody calls and they're not in your contacts and doesn't leave a message, it obviously wasn't important.
Randy, would you send me an email with that information, please?
I will.
Thank you.
Great advice. I feel like I need to join your calls more often. I'm even learning things too.
We're many of us are 501c3s, as is the International Association. And it's in our mission to educate. And what our goal is, it's called user groups helping user groups, users helping users, passing the information on. And theoretically, if groups aren't doing that, somebody could come along and say, I'm sorry, you're not fulfilling your mission. You can no longer be a nonprofit. So education is a large part of why we're here.
Great.
We'll go, Carl, your turn.
Okay, good. How do you pronounce your first name? Is it Gema or Gamma?
It's Gema, like an H.
Oh, Gema, like Spanish. Very good.
Yep.
Yeah, like Jose is with a J.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, very good. I've gotten several text messages, and they're about a delayed package from USPS. Delayed package because my street address wasn't understandable or missing. and they give a number, you know, it's an area code or a country code. One is from the UK, one was from India, one was from India, and I don't know where else. So I went to my local US post office and wanted to give them the information because I figured that there was somebody misrepresenting them clearly. And of course, in that message is a link for me to click on, which of course I know I'm not going to do. And because the complete your additional information needed link. And so I was kind of taken back. I waited a while, like 10 minutes for whoever was supposed to come. You know, I went to the desk and then they came and said, well, he's busy right now for me to call back later. So I was kind of rebuffed by that. And I thought, you know, if I have a problem with Walmart, I'm going to call Walmart. I'm not going to call the FTC necessarily. But anyways, is this something I should report to the FTC?
Yeah, actually, I just added a link to the chat. And I know we're talking about like, don't click on links, right? But those links you can click on because you know, those are some of the information that's on the website. So that last link that I share is to how to recognize this, you know, spam or you know, scammy messages or text messages, and also where to report them. There's actually a text message there, a number where you can just forward those messages to, and it gets recorded.
Is that the last one beginning with consumer FTC? Is that the one?
Yeah, if you, this last one that says at the end, reports spam text messages.
I don't see the, oh yeah, I see spam in the text. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah,
Okay,
so there's,
thank you.
it's like a number. It's actually, you copy the message and then you forward it to 7726.
Oh.
Yeah, what I sent you is it's kind of like the full article with all the information on that. But essentially, you just copy the message.
Well, it's a text message, which I can forward. So, but normally if you forward a text message, you go to a 5-digit number, not a 4-digit.
Yeah, but you'd be surprised. It does work.
Oh,
Even though it's not a complete number, but this is kind of like when you call your cell phone company, like it's 611 and it works.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is sort of the same. It's just a 7726. That's where you can report spam.
Let me get this clearly, because normally I don't copy text messages, I just forward them. But you're saying I need to copy it and then forward it to this number?
Yeah, so usually, like, I think, well, I have an iPhone, so I'm not an expert on Androids, but if you hold down, you know, if you kind of hold your finger over the
Highlight
message, and it'll say copy, so you don't click on the link, you just copy,
Oh,
and then you just, you know, type like you're typing a message to someone and put the 7726, paste it there, and you should be able to send it.
okay. Well, related to that, and this is my last question, is my phone. I have a Samsung Android phone, new phone, and it will ask me. It says, "Is this message okay, or you want to report it as spam?" What happens if I report it as spam? It disappears, I know, but I don't know where does it go when it goes to spam.
Yeah, it likely goes to the same box because this is kind of like a universal place to report spam. So most likely.
I mean, does it go to your box or
No,
where does it
I don't believe it goes that. I don't believe that goes to the FTC. I think that goes to, and that's also part of how this blocking software is getting better, are selecting this, you know, are sort of stopping this spam calls and messages, is that when they ask you that and you say yes, then they know to start blocking that number from now on. So that was probably a number that somehow got through, but they already kind of had a question about it. So just by you saying, yes, this was spam, it sort of gets added to that list so that they will block messages from them.
Okay, Gema, thank you very much.
Sure.
In the email world, and I'm sure text uses the same, if you click on spam, that lets your ISP know you don't want to receive any more of those. And with Gmail, it works beautifully. But in the first place with my Gmail, I never, ever get any unwanted messages in my inbox. They go immediately to the spam folder. And that's what you want to do with that's the result you want from your internet service provider. And if you're not getting that, pick up the phone and give them a call.
Yeah.
Gabe, you're on.
Hi, thank you. Just a real life, very short story from yesterday. I overheard my wife on the phone saying, "I'm not comfortable giving that information over the phone since you called me." And it turned out that she had gotten a call that had identified as Navy Federal Credit Union, where she banks. And they said, "We've seen some fraud." And they went through a long song and dance. And they had some of her information and they wanted more. And, her answer was, or the short version of her answer was no. So she hung up and then called Navy Federal and worked her way through a couple of departments to get to the fraud department. And they worked their way up through a couple of lines of management. And they said, "There's no problem. You have no problem." As she knew, that was a bogus attempt to scam. So this was a great presentation. I don't remember if the point was made, if somebody calls you, whether it's the police or the FBI or the IRS or your bank, and they want information, don't give it to them. Your bank is not going to call you and ask for your full credit card number. They already know it. So just another caution of don't answer questions when people call you. The call may be legitimate, but hang up, call back to the number that you know or that you reliably find on your credit card or some piece of paper. Don't even Google, because sometimes search results will show phony numbers that crooks want you to call. So hang up, call a verifiable number and ask, and whoever it is will be happy to confirm that there's really no problem, because people shouldn't be calling you and asking for information. And just a caution on a point that was just made right now. There's a downside to directing calls from numbers not in your contacts to voicemail. I found that out the hard way when I was sitting in a coffee shop waiting for my car dealer to call me and tell me that my car was ready. And after quite a while, longer than I expected to have to wait, I called them and they said, "Oh, we called and left a message a while ago." So you may get calls from your doctor, from a car dealer, something like that, that is not in your contacts list that you actually want to get. So there's an upside, but a downside to using that feature. If you're expecting somebody to call who is not on your contacts list, you might disable that feature. But in general, you may find that calls you actually wanted to get in real time right now have gone to voicemail because you have that feature turned on.
Yeah. I'm so glad that your wife was, did not give any information and went around. And yeah, that is exactly the key to, spotting a lot of the scams is, getting this unexpected call. So it's not something that you expect. And like you said, if it's really your bank calling, if there's some fraud, it can just wait 1 second until you hang up and you either go to your bank in person or you dial them through your app or, through the website that you already use and it's real. So yeah, great advice and good observation on the blocking of calls. Yeah, that is the one side to, to also ignoring calls. Like if I always say if it's something important, they will leave a message, and sometimes people don't leave a message. So it's up to you, but anytime that you get on the phone with someone, if you see that they're starting to push you to give information or send them money, hang up the phone at that point and just let it go. Don't keep going. See there a couple more people. I know we're going over. I don't know if that's okay.
Perfectly all right. If you answer the phone from somebody you don't know and it's a scammer, they sell your phone number and get more money for it. They bought the phone number in the first place from somebody, and you will end up getting 1.5 tons more scammy calls. My policy is I do not answer the phone unless my Spectrum says, you know, John Kennedy is calling, so to speak, combined with my Panasonic phone. And most of those that I don't answer, they don't leave a message because I'm not going to be fooled by answering it. So I don't do them any good. They, you know, this lady does not answer, or whoever does not answer her phone. She's aware of what's happening or whatever. You need to make that your policy. I have a lot of people that I read on Nextdoor, mostly men. They answer the phone and they give them a song and dance, and they're just so excited about being able to con them. And I'm thinking, and that means you're going to get more of these calls because you answered your phone, just like answering your email or unsubscribing when you should mark every email that's questionable as spam. Barbara, you're on.
Barbara?
Please unmute yourself. Okay, we'll go on to Astrid.
Yes, hello. Thank you for a very informative presentation. I have a question about the credit freezes. I froze my credit 16 years ago with all 3 agencies, and I have not unlocked any since. So my question is there an expiration date on this? Does it automatically stay in place until I do something, or will it drop out after, say, 10 years, 20 years, whatever? I don't know. And I couldn't find out, really. Couldn't get an answer to that.
Yes.
Does anyone know?
It should stay on. Unless you lift it, it will stay on.
Oh, great.
The fraud alert, it's slightly different than the credit freeze. That's usually for people who have been affected by identity theft, and that is usually on for 1 year, and then you have the option to renew it. But if you freeze it, that will stay on, and it will you're the only person who can lift it, and usually you'll want to lift it, say, if you want to get a new credit card, or
Right.
you gotta, you want to get a car or something, or you're shopping around, or moving or getting a job. Those are the only times when you need to, or a creditor needs to access your credit, that you'll want to lift it. So that's great, because that way you don't have to worry about constantly checking the credit.
Security freeze on and then it gives me a PIN number to, okay, thank you.
Sure.
Richard, from Australia, by the way, Emma.
Does the FTC cooperate with other countries and share investigations?
Yes, yes, it does. There's a department that sort of specializes in that. So I can't tell you all the different countries that there are treaties with, but that is what I share. That website, econsumer.gov. That's where you can go and file a consumer complaint. And they all do, they definitely collaborate with other countries and other agencies. There was recently there was a conference, it's called ISPEN, and where all the different partners sort of meet and talk about the different scams that they're seeing and so forth. So yeah, the FTC definitely does collaborate with other countries.
And Linda is our last question.
Oh.
John, can you unmute her?
No. She has to.
Okay, Linda, lower left-hand corner, you will see a red X. You need to click on that to unmute yourself. It will be on the microphone.
Oh, there we go. We hear you, Linda, now, I think.
Do you have a question or comment? Nope.
No.
Okay, then click on lower your hand on your, there you go, title bar. Fantastic.
That I can do.
Guys, I appreciate all those questions. This is so cool because you got double or triple what you're here for. And all the questions and the answers, because a lot of our members have the problems that other attendees today were talking about. It's kind of universal.
Yes, and thank you so much, Judy, and everyone for your questions and for listening. I have just put in my email on the chat. If any follow-up questions or anything comes up, please feel free to send me an email. I'll do my best to respond as soon as possible. And thank you. This was really a great forum of sharing information. I really appreciate it, and I hope we can do this again in the future.
We certainly will. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care, everyone.
Anyway, I don't think I can show you guys, but I'm wearing a Cybersecurity Awareness Month t-shirt, but it's so far down you can't see it. So, and it cost an arm and a leg to get it too. So, but I will be wearing this out in the world this too, because tis the time. We have had two absolutely excellent presentations, literally. One thing that Bob Gasicha and I both recommend is using Malwarebytes. You have your antivirus, your security program of your choice, and Malwarebytes is an extra check. It is one of the two programs I pay for. And so I get all of their benefits. It will pop up and say, I'm sorry, you can't go there. We have, bad information about it, that it's not a legitimate website. And if you go to the same website with a different browser, it'll just whip you right there. And I trust Malwarebytes. I wouldn't be paying for it if I didn't. And it has just recently released two new additions to their program. And of course, you need to pay for them or not, one or the other. But you might want to take a look at that just for grins and see if it is something that you would like to use. I saw somebody in the upper right-hand corner of my screen who's not the same person there, and he was going like this. So obviously he uses Malwarebytes. Tried to get them to give a presentation and ran up against a chatbot. And I'm going to tell you, that was one of the most interesting 30 minutes that I spent trying to educate the chatbot on, I wanted a presentation. That wasn't something she was interested in or she knew anything about. And we kept going back and forth, and they have no phone numbers. And they said that I would get a call back in 5 to 7 days from a live person. And my comment to that was, oh, you're just playing into the hands, so to speak, of everybody who says AI is coming along, people will lose their jobs. That was my last comment. Richard.
Okay, does the paid version of Malwarebytes disable Windows Defender?
You can have both. Malwarebytes is in addition to any, because I'm using Microsoft Security Program too. I figured it finally grew up with the edge. They don't want to be known as the company that lets a lot of viruses in. Back in the day, nobody would be caught dead using their AV program, their security program. But Malwarebytes works with everything, no conflict.